Congressman's babe action at Adjudicator Caprio. Will she beg for mercy? She laughed. Appropriate in Adjudicator Caprio's face. I'm sorry. Is this declared to alarm me? My ancestor is Agent Whitfield. This whole affair will be absolved by lunch. She absolutely formed her eyes at an 80-year-old judge. The arcade went silent, and a fresh Caprio said 4 words that wiped the smile off her face forever. Time stamp. 10:14 a.m. Defendant action at authoritative judge. References agent father's advancing intervention. Those 4 words weren't a threat. They weren't an insult. They were article far more devastating, a request. And what came abutting would breach Kendall Whitfield completely. Her attorney, Reginald Crane, effective her arm, his fingers digging in, but it was too late. The words were already out. The beam had already echoed through the courtroom. In the gallery, Agent Theodore Whitfield bankrupt his eyes. He'd spent 14 years in Congress, sat on the Judiciary Committee, afflicted administrative appointments, fabricated problems disappear, but he couldn't stop what was about to happen. His wife Victoria looked bottomward at her easily, as if she could accomplish herself invisible. Acquaint us area you're watching from and hit subscribe if you're over 50. The transformation from amusement to allurement would booty absolutely 30 seconds. It would become the best-watched attorney's moment of the year, and it would activate with adjudicator Frank Caprio's calm, abstinent voice. But the 4 words hadn't been announced yet. Caprio didn't react to the amusement immediately. He let it acknowledgement and die. He let the blackout that followed it amplitude until the courtroom acquainted like it was captivation, its breath. Afresh he leaned, advanced slightly, his easily bankrupt on the bench. Miss Whitfield, you anticipate this is amusing? Kendall was still smirking, still benumbed the beachcomber of her own arrogance. I think it's a decay of time. We both perceive how this ends, do we? Caprio accomplished for a remote ascendancy on his desk. Afresh, let's begin. Miss Okonkwo, amused, dim the lights. The agent confused to the wall switch. The attorney's lights dimmed. The advisor on the bank flickered to life. Kendall's beam began to fade, a bashing replacing confidence. She didn't know there was video, and a fresh adjudicator Caprio said the 4 words that afflicted everything. He looked anon at Kendall Whitfield, his articulation abiding and clear. Appearance me the video. The courtroom monitor brightened. Kendall's face went pale. She glanced at her attorney. Reginald Crane stood quickly, his articulation able but urgent. Your Honor, we haven't had able time to analysis this evidence in advance. The video is from an Academy Aegis camera. It's accessible record. It shows absolutely what your client did on November 12th. Sit down, counselor. Crane sat. Affirmation log security footage from Artery Catherine's Elementary School. Camera 3 Capitol Crosswalk, East Entrance. Date the 12th of November, 2024. Time 3 hours 22 account and 17 abnormal PM continuance 47 seconds. Quality aerial definition in. Status unedited original. The video began playing. The time brand in the bend, apprehend 3 hours 22 account and 14 seconds PM, Academy Bridge came into view. Accouchements were dispersing, walking home, some with parents, some in babyish groups. A bridge bouncer in a bright chicken cogitating vest stood in the average of the crosswalk. Patricia Giordano, accepted to anybody as Miss Patty. She was allowance accumulation of 3 accouchements cantankerous the street. Her duke aloft against traffic. A white car appeared at the bend of the frame, effective fast, too fast. A little girl, 6 years old, pigtails bouncing, stepped into the crosswalk. Emma Vasquez, branch home after her Aboriginal brand class. The car didn't apathetic down. Miss Patty saw it coming. Her arch turned. She moved. What happened in the abutting 3 abnormal would abode Kendall Whitfield for the blow of her life. Miss Patty lunged forward. She pushed Emma Adamantine out of the aisle of the dispatch car. Emma confused to the curb, her haversack aerial off, her aperture open in a scream that the Aegis footage captured silently. Miss Patty took the abounding impact. The complete came through the courtroom speakers. The awful bang of metal a fair bone, alike on Aegis footage. Patty's anatomy hit the awning of the white car, formed up assimilate the windshield, a fresh fell. The car's advanced caster bent her, abject her. The car moved advanced addition 14 FT afore stopping. Kendall Whitfield's face had gone from anemic to grey. Her duke was over her mouth. The video didn't stop. The white car sat there. 3 abnormal passed. 4, 5. Afresh the brake lights came on. The car antipodal boring affairs aback from area Miss Patty lay motionless in the road. Aegis footage transcript. 3 hours 22 account and 19 seconds PM. A pulse with victim. Agent acceleration estimated 47 mph in 15 mph zone. 322.21. Agent stops, accepting abject victim 14 ft. 322.26. Agent begins reversing. 322.29. Agent drives about victim's body. 322.32. Vehicle exits Academy area at aerial speed. Authorization bowl acutely visible. The car maneuvered about Patty's body. She was lying channeled in the average of the crosswalk, not moving, and accelerated away, dematerialization from the frame. The video froze on the angel of Miss Patty lying in the road. Agents were running toward her. Accouchement was screaming, and in the bend of the frame, Emma Vasquez sat on the curb, her easily over her face. Adjudicator Caprio's articulation cut through the silence. Miss Whitfield, that's you abaft the wheel. We accept absolute the authorization plate. We accept your corpuscle phone records agreement you there. You are not against, that you were active that vehicle, correct. Kendall's articulation was barely audible. No, you stopped. The video shows you stopped. You had 5 seconds to get out of your car and help. Instead, you antipodal and collection about a woman bleeding in the street. I didn't see. You stopped. You had to see her to drive about her. Like this video. If you anticipate heirs deserves consequences, but the video wasn't the worst part. What Miss Patty did while she was lying in that road, that's what would breach Kendall completely. Caprio let the Arctic Angel abide on the screen. Miss Patty's body, the agents running, Emma on the curb. Do you know why that woman is lying in the road, Miss Whitfield? Kendall didn't answer, couldn't answer. Her name is Patricia Giordano. Bodies alarm her Miss Patty. She's been a bridge bouncer at St. Catherine's Elementary Academy for 23 years. 23 years of allowance, children cross that artery safely. Caprio's articulation was abstinent, deliberate. She saw your car coming. She saw that you weren't slowing down. She saw that you weren't stopping. And she saw a 6-year-old girl anon in your path, so she fabricated a choice. She pushed the adolescent out of the way, and she took the impulse herself. A woman in the arcade began to sob. Kendall's arch angry against the sound. Rosa Vasquez sat in the 3rd row, tears streaming bottomward her face, her easily afraid to her chest. That's Rosa Vasquez. Her babe Emma is the 6-year-old Miss Patty saved. Emma Vasquez is animate today because a bridge bouncer saw your car advancing and made a burning decision. Incident summary. Victim Patricia Giordano, age 61, Academy Bridge Guard. Action. Observed defendant's agent approaching crosswalk at alarming speed. Pushed adolescent Emma Vasquez, age 6, out of vehicle's path. Victim abiding abounding impact. Adolescent uninjured. Victim seriously injured. Caprio continued, his articulation growing harder, Miss Patty's injuries, shattered abdomen acute surgical reconstruction, burst femur in 2 places, burst larboard wrist, centralized bleeding that appropriate emergency surgery, 4 surgeries total, 7 months of concrete rehabilitation. She walks with her abiding bending now. The doctors say she may never absolutely recover. She's 61 years old. She spent 23 years befitting accouchement safe. Every academy day, rain or shine, she stood in that bridge and fabricated abiding kids got home safely. And you hit her at 47 mph in a 15 mph school zone. You hit her so adamantine she was abject 14 ft, and a fresh you collection away. Kendall's accord was cracking, tears were starting. I didn't perceive she was extenuative a child. I didn't see her, I swear I didn't. You were texting Miss Whitfield. You didn't see annihilation because you were attractive at your phone instead of the road. Subscribe if you accept heroes appear in accustomed uniforms, but the argument bell letrist would prove it. and they would accomplish aggregate worse. Caprio best up addition document from his desk. I accept your corpuscle buzz records, Miss Whitfield, obtained through a warrant. Let me apprehend what you were accounting at 3:22 p.m. On November 12th, he adapted his glasses. You were texting an acquaintance and I quote, OMG, this cartage is killing me. I am activity to be so backward for drinks. Rolling eyes emoji. Your acquaintance responded, lol, aloof drive faster. That argument was beatific at 3 hours 22 account and 14 abnormal p.m. The impact with Miss Patty occurred at 3 hours 22 account and 17 abnormal p.m. 3 seconds later, argument message, timeline 3 hours 22 account and 14 seconds. Defendant sends argument message, OMG, this cartage is killing me. I am activity to be so backward for drinks. Acquaintance response, LOL, aloof drive faster, 3 hours 22 minutes and 17 seconds. A pulse with victim Patricia Giordano. Time between text and blow 3 seconds. The attorneys was absolutely bashful, except for Rosa Vasquez's quiet crying. And here's what you texted 8 account afterwards, you hit Miss Patty and collection away. 8 minutes afterwards, you larboard her bleeding and burst in an academy crosswalk. Caprio apprehends slowly, emphasizing anniversary word. Finally, out of that academy area nightmare. See you in 20. Academy area nightmare. That's what you alleged it. Not I aloof hit someone, not I charge help. You texted about affair a company for drinks. Kendall was arrant above board now, her easily shaking. I panicked. I didn't perceive what to do, I was scared. You knew enough to about face your car. You knew abundant to drive about her body. You knew abundant to abscond the scene. You knew enough to argument about drinks. You aloof didn't perceive abundant to stop and help. Rosa Vasquez's sobs grew louder. Kendall looked at her, an article in that gaze, the grief, the rage, the raw affectionate affliction seemed to bore through. But Agent Whitfield's attack to accomplish this all abandon was about to surface. Caprio set bottomward the phone records and best up addition file. Before we continue, I appetite to abode article about this case, something unusual. Agent Theodore Whitfield confused uncomfortably in his seat, his face tightening. This case was originally assigned to adjudicator Harold Petton. A altered courtroom, a different judge. 2 canicule afterwards your arrest, Miss Whitfield, your father, Agent Theodore Whitfield, contacted Chief Adjudicator Morrison. The attorney's activity shifted. Everyone understood area this was going. He requested that this case be transferred from Adjudicator Petton's calendar to well, actually, that's interesting. He requested it be transferred back to Adjudicator Petton because somehow between arrest and arraignment, the case had been reassigned to me. Case transfer documentation. The 14th of November, 2024. Phone alarm from Agent Theodore Whitfield's appointment to Chief Adjudicator Morrison. Appeal alteration case 2025 CR 0445 to Adjudicator Harold Petton. Reasons stated scheduling conflicts and adjudicator acquaintance with agnate cases. Appeal denied. The 15th of November 2024, Reginald Crane was on his feet. Your Honor, any discussions about case appointment are advantaged communications between our accessible almanac, a backer affiliate of Congress attempts to access administrative proceedings. This isn't a private matter, Counselor. This is abeyant obstruction. Sit down, Crane sat, his face red. Caprio continued, his articulation cold. Adjudicator Harold Petton is an accomplished jurist. He was additionally appointed to his position 3 years ago with the able abutment and advocacy of Agent Theodore Whitfield, who sits on the board that reviews federal administrative appointments. Chief Adjudicator Morrison denied the alteration request. His announcement says, and I'm account directly, appeal denied. Adjudicator Caprio assigned due to high-profile attributes of case and charge for absolute candor and independence. Caprio looked anon at Agent Whitfield. Congressman, you sit on the attorney's committee. You are perceived bigger than anyone that attempting to access case assignments is improper at best and potentially bent at worst. The Abode Ethics Board will be notified of this attempt. Agent Whitfield stood, his articulation bound with controlled anger. Your Honor, I was simply aggravating to ensure my babe accustomed a fair hearing. You were aggravating to get your babe in advance of a judge. You helped accredit a adjudicator whose ability feels some amount of gratitude. That's not fairness, Congressman, that's corruption. Caprio's articulation rose slightly. Sit down, sir. If you speak again afterwards actuality asked a question, I will accept you removed from this attorneys for contempt. The congressman sat, his wife wouldn't attending at him. Subscribe if you anticipate amends shouldn't be transferable. And afresh, Rosa Vasquez stood up and aggregate changed. Rosa absolved to the advanced of the courtroom, her accomplice afraid but determined. She was 32 years old but looked earlier today, beat bottomward by agony and abhorrence and gratitude all alloyed together. Aback she spoke, her articulation trembled but didn't break. My name is Rosa Vasquez. My daughter Emma is 6 years old. She's an Aboriginal brand at Artery Catherine's. She looked at Kendall. That woman almost killed my baby. She was active so fast. She was attractive at her phone. Emma was in the crosswalk. The bridge guard, Miss Patty, had her duke up. The arresting said, walk. Emma had every appropriate to be there. Miss Patty adored her. Miss Patty saw that car advancing and she pushed Emma out of the way. Emma hit the curb hard. She aching her easily and knees. She was screaming, but she was alive. Rosa Vasquez, victim a pulse statement. Miss Patty adored my daughter's life. She saw the car wouldn't stop and pushed Emma to safety. Miss Patty took the hit that would accept dead my adolescent, and the disciplinarian larboard her there. Rose's articulation grew stronger, acrimony acid through the grief, because Miss Patty chose to save my babe instead of herself. She's 61 years old. She has grandchildren. She has her activity, and she gave up her bloom maybe always to save my little girl. My daughter has nightmares now. Every night she wakes up agreeable about the car. She asks me every distinct day if Miss Patty is activity to die. She's 6 years old, 6. She shouldn't accept to ask if her bridge bouncer is activity to die. She shouldn't accept nightmares about cars. She should be afraid about dolls and cartoons and acquirements to read. Rosa angry absolutely against Kendall, who was errant silently. And this woman who hit Miss Patty, she didn't stop. The video shows it. She chock full for 5 seconds, saw Miss Patty lying there bleeding, and a fresh collection about her anatomy like she was debris in the road. My babe was watching. Emma saw the accomplished thing. She saw Miss Patty get hit. She saw the car drive away. She keeps allurement me why the adult didn't admonition Miss Patty. Why didn't she alarm 911? Why didn't she stop? Rose's articulation bankrupt completely. I don't accept an answer because there is no acknowledgement that makes sense. There's no excuse. There's annihilation, I can say, that explains how a human actuality hits addition and a fresh aloof leaves. Emma is animate because Miss Patty is a hero, and Miss Patty will never airing the aforementioned way afresh because that woman cared added about drinks with her friends than a child's life. And that's a back Kendall Whitfield broke. The tears that had been falling silently became sobs, deep-cutting sobs that befuddled her absolute body. The accord was gone. The arrogance was a memory. The laugh, that terrible, advantaged beam acquainted like it had happened in addition life. She stood, her legs shaking, her easily bound calm like she was praying. Please, Your Honor, please. I didn't perceive she was extenuative a child. I didn't see her. I didn't see any of it clearly. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Amuse don't accelerate me to prison. Please. She was allurement now, actually begging. Her articulation was desperate. Broken. I fabricated a mistake. I was stupid. I was texting and I wasn't advantageous attention. And I perceive it was wrong. I know, please, Amuse accord me another chance. I'll do anything. Community service, abode arrest, rehab, anything. Please, I'm allurement you. Her apostle approved to blow her arm to get her to sit down, but she befuddled him off. I'll address my activity to authoritative this right. I'll assignment with bridge guards. I'll pay for Miss Patty's medical bills, whatever it takes. Aloof Amuse don't accelerate me to prison. Please, Your Honor. 5 seconds, 7, 10, 12. In that silence, a congressman's babe abstruse that ability has an cessation date. Adjudicator Caprio waited until the blackout was unbearable. Afresh he spoke, his articulation calm and measured. Miss Whitfield, 30 seconds ago, you were bedlam in my face. You told me this attorney's was a decay of time. You told me this whole proceeding would be absolved by lunch. You formed your eyes at me like I was an inconvenience. Now your allurement on your knees, about crying, argumentation for mercy. Adjudicator Caprio's response. That's not remorse, Miss Whitfield. That's fear. Anguish would accept chock-full the car. Anguish would accept alleged 911. Remorse would accept backward at the scene. That's not remorse, Miss Whitfield. That's fear. Anguish would accept stop the car. Anguish would accept fabricated you get out, and admonition Miss Patty, instead of active about her body. Anguish would have fabricated you alarm 911 instead of texting about drinks. Kendall was still crying, afraid her head. I'll change, I affiance I'll be different, I'll be a better person, you'll accept time to prove that. Plenty of time. Caprio best up his pen. But appropriate now, what I'm seeing isn't accountability. It's self-preservation. You didn't cry when you hit Miss Patty. You didn't beg her back you collection about her burst body. You didn't appeal her back you were texting about your academy area nightmare. You started allurement, aback you accomplished your father couldn't accomplish this disappear. Aback you saw the video, aback you accepted that money and ability and a aldermanic seat wouldn't save you. That's not growth, Miss Whitfield. That's blow control. Comment justice. If you anticipate, she finally accepted the book was coming and it would be aggregate the Whitfields feared. Adjudicator Caprio removed his glasses and set them anxiously on the bench. Aback he spoke. Anniversary word carried the weight of 40 years of jurisprudence and a lifetime of seeing bodies at their affliction and best. Miss Whitfield, let me acquaint you what I see aback I attending at you. I see a adolescent woman who has never been told no, who has never faced an absolute aftereffect for annihilation in her absolute life, who absolved into this attorney's assertive her father's name and position would assure her from accountability. I see addition who hit a 61-year-old bridge guard, watched her bleeding in the street, and fabricated a acquainted accommodation to leave her there and go accommodated a company for cocktails. I see addition who alone started arrant aback she accomplished she'd been bent on video. Aback she accomplished this wouldn't just go away. Caprio's assessment, defendant, demonstrates no 18-carat anguish above mentioned to affirmation presentation. Emotional affectation occurred alone afterwards after effects became clear. Abiding arrangement of arms and consequence avoidance enabled by ancestors' influence. That's not growth, that's not remorse, that's abhorrence of punishment. And those are two actual altered things. Caprio best up his sentencing notes. Here is my ruling. First, your bond is revoked able immediately. You will be remanded to Aegis awaiting trial. Kendall gasped, her Duke Ariel to her mouth. Second, this case is being referred to a loft cloister for abomination prosecution. The accuse you face, vehicular advance causing austere bodily injury, hit and run causing austere injury, abortion to seed aid, reckless driving causing injury, and texting while active in an academy zone. These accuse backpack cogent Bastille time. Third, I am advising to the aloft cloister that you accept no consideration for aboriginal release. You are a flight blow, and your ancestors has already approved alertness to baffle with judicial proceedings. The case alteration attack proves that. Fourth, $400,000 in restitution to Patricia Gordano. This covers her medical bills, her rehabilitation costs, her absent wages, and advantage for abiding concrete disability. You will pay this personally, not your father's PAC, not her ancestors' trust, not attack funds. You, fifth, a lifetime active ban. You have proven aloft any agnosticism that you cannot be trusted abaft the caster of a vehicle. You will never authority a valid driver's authorization in this accompaniment again. Sentencing recommendations, bond revoked. Abomination case in Superior Court, no aboriginal absolution consideration. $400,000 restitution, personal funds only, lifetime active ban, monthly bell letrist to victim. allotment for crossing guard assurance accessories at 10 schools statewide. Sixth, for the continuance of your sentence, about continued that may be, you will address one letter per ages to Miss Patty. These belletrists will detail your rehabilitation efforts, your reflections on what you did, your understanding of the corruption you caused. Miss Patty can accept whether to apprehend them or bandy them away. That's her right, but you will address them. Seventh, you will alone armamentarium bridge guard safety equipment, added admonishing lights, cogitating gear, acceleration ecology systems at 10 schools throughout Rhode Island. You will accomplish abiding that added bridge guards don't end up like Miss Patty because drivers like you can't be agitated to pay attention. Caprio looked at Officer Cole. Officer Cole, booty the defendant into custody. Kendall angry against her father, her face desperate. Daddy, Congressman Theodore Whitfield didn't move. He couldn't save her. Not this time. All the influence, all the connections, all the favors he'd accumulated over 14 years in Congress, none of it mattered in this courtroom. Officer Cole approached with handcuffs. Kendall's easily were afraid as they were cuffed abaft her back. She was led against the door, still crying, still looking aback at her parents. Victoria Whitfield was errant silently. The congressman stared beeline ahead, his face unreadable. But the adventure didn't end with the handcuffs. It concluded with something none of them accepted: transformation. 16 months passed. Kendall Whitfield stood balloon in Rhode Island aloft court. The affirmation was overwhelming, the video, the corpuscle phone records, the attestant statements from agents and parents at Artery Catherine's. Her attorneys brash her that angry the accused would alone accomplish the book worse. She appeal accusable to all charges. The judge sentenced her to 5 years in accompaniment Bastille with no achievability of acquittal application for the aboriginal 3 years. Final sentencing record. Kendall Whitfield, aloft cloister of Rhode Island. Vehicular assault, felony. Hit and run causing austere injury, felony. Abortion to seed aid, felony. Sentence 5 years Rhode Island accompaniment prison. Acquittal accommodation afterwards 3 years minimum. Amends $400,000. Additional conditions. Lifetime active ban. Monthly belletrist to victim. Funding for bridge bouncer assurance equipment. Agent Theodore Whitfield faced his own reckoning. The Abode Ethics Committee analysis embodied allegations of abnormal acquaintance with the judiciary. He was formally accusable, a rare and austere corruption that fabricated civic news. In the abutting election, he lost his bank by 12 points. Exit polling showed that voters cited corruption of power, family values, hypocrisy, and absurdity.